Hey, this is Matt Stone of 180 Degree Health. It's been forever since I've done a video, and hopefully I'll get in the habit of doing these again. Somebody asked me about this the other day, and I just sort of went off on a tangent, so I thought it would make for a good video. But in the book, I believe it's Intuitive Eating, there's a mention about this study, and this study I find very fascinating because it shows how much more there is to health, nutrition, and so forth, other than just, macronutrient ratios or, whether it's whole grains or refined grains or so on and so forth. There's so much more going on with our sort of 21st century relationship with food, because it's much more complex than it's ever been before. We have all kinds of ideas about nutrition in our heads, and those ideas, we've never really had ideas about nutrition. We ate what food was around, and we ate what foods that were part of some sort of food custom or whatever. Anyways, in the study, basically there were a group of restrained eaters, or dieters I guess you could say, and then the other group were people who were unrestrained eaters. They weren't necessarily restricted in any way. And so you had these two groups. And the setup of the study was that there were groups of people in each of these two major groups that had one milkshake, two milkshakes, or zero milkshakes, and they were required to drink these milkshakes. And then after the drinking of 0, 1, or 2 milkshakes, they would bring out a huge platter of ice cream and say, eat as much ice cream as you like. And it was a big enough platter to where they could eat a ton of it and it wouldn't even really make a dent in the platter. And then of course they would go weigh it to see how much these people consume. So the unrestrained eaters, they self-regulated like normal. If they had 0 milkshakes and then you brought them a big platter of ice cream, they would eat more ice cream. If you brought them 1 milkshake, they would eat a little bit less. If you brought them 2 milkshakes and they had to drink 2 milkshakes, and then you brought all this ice cream out, they said, dude, I just had 2 milkshakes, I don't want any ice cream. So the more milkshakes they drank, the less ice cream they ate. So it's perfect self-regulation there. In the restrained eaters or dieters, it was the exact opposite, and this is very fascinating. So those who received 0 milkshakes and then were presented with all this ice cream, they didn't have so much ice cream. Give them 1 milkshake and they had a lot more ice cream. Give them 2 milkshakes and they ate a ton. So the group that had 2 milkshakes should have been the most full and needed the least amount of ice cream, but they ended up eating the most ice cream. Why? Because the inhibitions that they had built up around their diet, as soon as they had those 2 milkshakes, well, forget it. The diet is blown, I might as well go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity and just have a reprieve or take a break, vacation from my diet, and they pigged out. So there's so many different people, there's so many people that are stuck in this, basically this pattern of sort of this binge and repent cycle of eating. And I think, and if you look at the actual literature and all the things about intentional weight loss and restricted eating and all these types of things, there's a much tighter correlation with obesity, with restricted eating, than there is with eating white flour or white sugar, or the amount of carbohydrates you eat, or the number of fat grams you eat, and so forth. So think about that, and think about your own personal relationship with food, because there's a chance that there's probably a lot of rehabilitation that needs to occur there before you even really start to do some kind of Spartan health food diet or anything like that. So anyways, just a reminder that there's so much more going on outside of just food itself. Stuff going on up here, stuff that's just going on in terms of the way our society is, and all that. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Hopefully start doing these regularly again. Bye-bye.